Welcome back retro gamers, and this video is going to be more of a preview because we're only covering the demo of the game as it's not ready for release. Thankfully though, I did get to talk to one of the developers behind the game for some more insight into this new NES homebrew. You may be wondering what the game is about, so in the words of the team behind the game, Eyra the Crow Maiden is a sword and sorcery platformer action-adventure game to be released on a real NES cartridge later in the year. Is this game worthy of a place on your shelf, or should it be left behind in the prehistoric period? Let's find out. The team were originally looking for $5,500 when they launched their Kickstarter campaign. It actually ended at just over $32,500, reaching its initial goal in 24 hours. The team were kind enough to offer the demo for people to try it out, and that's what we'll be using to cover the game today. The demo consists of 3 levels, each with 2 stages. However, in the final build of the game, there will be 5 levels, each with 3 stages. There will also be a boss fight to end each of the 5 levels, so there's plenty of content still to come. You start off finding your bearings by making this jump and encountering your first enemy. Not all the characters on the screen are there to hurt you though, because you've got some allies along the way. Gameplay is smooth, character movement is tight, so I didn't run into any issues making my jumps. But I did have a lot of trouble passing this enemy without taking damage. But it turns out in my first playthrough I completely missed out on one of the game's most important attacks. You can see this crow following you the entire game. Well, if you press up and B at the same time, then this happens. Yes, that's right, I went through an entire playthrough of the demo wondering why some enemies seemed to be unavoidable, when in actual fact I was at fault missing out on one of the game's core mechanics. Well, after realising my mistake, I played through again, this time making full use of Eyra's abilities. Along with this attack there's also a couple of weapon upgrades as well, which makes taking out enemies from a distance a breeze. I found 2 of them in my playthrough and both were worthy additions to the game. You acquire the weapons and more crows to attack with from the crows scattered throughout the level. They are your allies, and when you approach and viciously decimate them, they leave behind a range of power-ups. These range from coins to boost your high score, weapon drops like we mentioned, or these bags which will add another crow to your arsenal. The HUD is always available throughout the game, meaning you'll be able to quickly check if you're missing anything or are low on health at a quick glance. You have your life counter, followed by the crow attacks that you have left. Next up, your health is self-explanatory. You have 3 hits or it's life over. Thankfully, the crows will drop you some health as you take them out. Crow meat. As you can see, these cavemen appear in each level, and at the top of the screen you can see how many you need to collect and how many you've collected so far. In the demo though, they don't have much meaning, but in the final build you will be rewarded for collecting, or should I say saving, them all, as they are actually members of Eyra's tribe who were kidnapped by the final boss. Ooh. Be careful because they're usually found near a few enemies and a few pits blocking your path. When I reached out to developers, they were kind enough to answer a few questions, and one of the first ones I asked was about the game's inspiration.
My original idea was to make a Rastan inspired game for the Game Boy. I even had all the graphics done in 4 colours and all, but we didn't have the resources to make it for the platform, so Adam suggested the NES. And from there it wasn't really hard to change the colour of the sprites and tiles and turn it into a NES project. SNES and Mega Drive versions were just the next obvious step, since we have some previous experience developing for those consoles.
And when I asked about a sequel, he said,
"We are focusing on these versions for now. We have some other stuff that we're working on, and I have some ideas for a sequel, and so does Adam, but we're still too far away from discussing something like that seriously. I'd like to do at some point."
So there isn't one currently in the works, and there are more projects, yay, being worked on first, including the SNES and Mega Drive/Genesis ports of this gem, which I will no doubt be covering on the channel at the time of release. So what else are the team up to behind the scenes?
Second Dimension has been publishing games for retro systems for a long time now. This is the second project I'm working on since I joined in. We are close to finishing The Curse of Ilmore Bay for the Mega Drive, also funded via Kickstarter, and it will release this year soon. After Eyra, we plan on developing an RPG called Affinity Sorrow. We already showed some concepts and some pixel art for that one. More to come in the future.
Thanks to the campaign absolutely smashing its target, we get to look forward to the 16-bit versions of Eyra the Crow Maiden coming as well. You can pre-order now for the NES or the 16-bit consoles. The ROM will also be available in the future as well. I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. I hope you enjoyed another NES homebrew game on the channel. Will you be trying this out for yourself? Are there any other games I should check out? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, happy gaming.